but we are back nevertheless. We have a lot to get through because the aim is to finish the season today, and then with greater respect for your time, I will be no longer streaming every day, but we'll get on some sort of schedule. Right. We have some worn components. I got a warning about that. And yeah, it was the practice gearbox. In terms of the power unit, yeah, we are going to have a problem in Russia. So I'll switch to the least worn elements. Okay, in terms of activities, we will do weight training with Mick Schumacher to improve his pace. And we'll see if that works for us. We have some factory upgrades locked in. We don't have enough money right now to finish our level 1 upgrades to the aerodynamics and powertrain departments, and we've not really invested in durability or marketing. But we will at some point. All our upgrades failed, but now they should be here end of September, start of October. Where does that put us? Yeah, that means no upgrades again for Russia, and I presume sort of Japan, USA time. I'm guessing then this will be the last upgrade package of this season. We have 7 days left to run on our pay night. Sponsorship. We are nowhere near unlocking a fourth sponsor because progress inside the team has stalled, and our primary sponsor obviously runs till the end of the year. Okay, let's jog time along, shall we? One or more fitted vehicle components have excessive wear. Well, where's that? Because all I could see was here with the practice gearbox. Other than that, everything's fine. Factory upgrades are ready, and we have improved Mick Schumacher. We can rebuild him. So Russia, another track actually I'm quite good at. The only problem is the car is not in the best place it's been this season. We've been out-developed, particularly by Haas and Alfa Romeo, who have an increasing advantage over us because even when we do invest in updates to the car, they seem to be failing quality control far more than we would like. That's obviously down to the fact that we have an improvised factory at the moment. That said, Mick Schumacher's had a pretty strong start to his stint with the team. He wouldn't have been my first choice as a driver, but so far he's been close to us in terms of pace, which Jordan King never was. We have a lot to get through, so I'm going to be skipping the practice sessions and taking the 50% points because we're not going to have any more upgrades coming this season anyway, and we want to finish the season today. I want to see what happens. I want drivers switching teams, and then when we get onto a stream schedule for season 2, obviously the pace will slow down. We may up the length of the races to make each stream a bit longer and a bit more strategic. Okay, that's enough points I think for a durability upgrade, but I'm not sure if I wouldn't just like to keep saving and do a big upgrade package for next year's car. Try and get us off the back of the grid. We finished P18 in Singapore. I'm hoping for a better result here. We have a partially worn power unit and gearbox, but neither of them should cause issues at this Grand Prix. Rather, it will be in Japan, where I'm considering taking no grid penalties and running with a power unit that's down on power, and then taking penalties in the USA, which is a track that I'm competent at, but I'd have no particular love for. We're going to be looks like rain in qualifying. I don't know if that means dry to rain or rain throughout or rain to dry. So we're going to have to watch the track conditions like a hawk. And this is one of the final streams with this layout. Everything's shipped now, everything's on the way, so we should be looking a lot more professional and watchable very soon. And I will, once the PS5 is out, we're making the jump to 4K streaming for sure, if I'm able. The colour scheme of my car and the colour scheme of my helmet do not belong together, but I kind of don't want to compromise either. Okay, currently intermediate conditions. Given the rain's going to continue and water will build on the track, in case it gets to a full wet situation, I'm going to go straight out and get a time on the board. Do you know, it's really bothering me that the sponsor logo on the rear wing is so small. I'm kind of disappointed that Codemasters have done such a great job with this mode, but they don't let you resize your sponsor logos or tilt them, you know, rotate them a little bit. Because I really like what Racing Point have done with their BWT logo across the engine cover. And that could, excuse me, make for a very nice livery concept for our colour scheme, but we just don't have the ability to do it. No DRS because rain. Hopefully the car feels a bit less heavy. It never feels great on intermediate tyres, but historically in these games I've always been better in the wet than the dry, really. And in the podcast seasons, that's where I tend to pick up the bulk of my points. Last year I was terrible in the wet, but this year it seems to have gone back to the wet weather simulation that I like, and I'm quietly optimistic that we'll get a fairly respectable time. Of course we'll not be near the sharp end, I don't expect, at least not by the end of the session, and I'm hoping we're vindicated in doing an early run. Oh, again, because it's tradition now, thank you to everyone who made last night's stream so much fun and this morning's. Viewer numbers are just on the up and up, and it's really, really good to see. And you know, when there's 6 to 8 of us hanging out, it means we can have a bit more of a laugh and a bit of a chat. And hopefully, with the upgrades that are coming for the streaming setup and the changes to the Failcast podcast that were being pondered, hopefully people respond positively to that, and we can continue to grow. We don't want to be huge, obviously, but just enough people to have some good old F1 conversation is fine by us, and we're grateful for all of you, because you've got a lot of choice about where you can spend your free time, so spending it with us is appreciated. Oh wow, told you I was good in the wet. People always think I'm lying when I say that. People who've never watched the podcast historically and only see me being inept and crash happy in the dry, they'll say, there's no way this guy can drive in the wet. But I'm actually quite good in the wet. And I'm going to do another lap because I think we've got the pace for it. Slow to be fast, that's the key in the wet. However slow you think you have to go through a corner, it's slower. And sometimes you feel like you're losing time and you're in slow motion, but actually you get so much more power down on corner exit that you end up just cruising to victory. Stay off the curbs though. Did you see how that killed my time? Got to stay off the curbs. The curbs are not your friend in the wet. Half the time they're not even your friend in the dry. Yeah, did the same thing again. That's fine. I think we'll be faster on a fresh set of inters anyway. Why don't we come in and change them? I wonder what our advantage is as well. I've not had a pole position in this game yet.
Okay, I think the track will be drying out quite soon. Mind you don't burn out your tyres.
Oh, we're going to dries. Oh, well, that ruins my chance at pole then. Let's do one more lap on the inters and then we'll do a final run on the softs, presuming the track dries up. Oh, the track's already dried up, I think. Is that car ahead of me on dries? The way to tell is watch your tyre temperatures. And whether your car actually responds to your inputs. Yeah, this is dry weather tyres. This is definitely dry weather.
Our best lap so far is a 1:47.7.
So now we lose all the advantage that we had from running the car in the wet, where our power differential is masked by the conditions, and what little talent I have has room to shine. We are going to get provisional pole though, because no one else is out at the moment, so we're the first ones on the dry tyre. That tells me that I have come out too early, but I can live with that. And actually, you know, the car feels really good suddenly. How was it, mate? Hi, Wodge, how you doing, by the way? I'm trying to blitz through as much of this game as I can prior to qualifying at 3 o'clock, but I'm guessing I'm going to have to come back after qualifying to do the last Grand Prix, if my maths is correct. But we are finishing the season today. Good F3 race though. They stopped the session. That must have been heavy rain. Are we talking like USA 2018 was it, or 17? Where the rain was so bad that they literally cancelled the Grand Prix and ended up running it midweek, as I remember. Well, to be honest, F3 cars are more suspect to weather conditions anyway, right? Because they've got less mechanical grip and less downforce, so you have to be a bit more safety conscious there, and particularly with some of the nasty accidents they've had in the last few years. It's better safe than sorry, but I'm hoping that it doesn't get in the way of F1, because I'd love to see yeah, could be that as well. Could be that. I was reading Autosport while I was doing my little jobs I had to do, and it doesn't seem like no, it doesn't seem like qualifying is cancelled, but I guess it's all up in the air. But I want a real heavy rain job. Where did I finish there? Presumably not fastest. What? Oh, that's unfair. I went out too early. I went out too early, like a fool. Oh well, never mind. I'd go back and do it again, but time is of the essence. I want to keep pressing forward, and I'll take some bad results if we can get to the end of the season and see the driver market.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. Who would you say is your biggest rival at the moment?
We stop pitching these guys at me. None of them.
How do you feel the competition is for you this season?
The competition has been good, actually. I've been enjoying the racing, no matter where I'm finishing.
Well, here's hoping they're working hard to find some improvement.
It has gone sunny suddenly, but you know, Russia's a strange place. It's a very weird place. That's just Cold War paranoia talking. I actually work with some Russian people, and they are the nicest fucking people. They're the best. It's funny because growing up at the end of the 80s and early 90s, Russia's always like the other or the enemy. I suppose how China's becoming for kids today. But actually, they're just fucking lovely people. Tell you what, they can tell you some stories though. There's a girl I work with from St. Petersburg, and she's younger than me. So she was actually born around the time of the fall of the Soviet Union. And even after the Soviet Union was gone, she was saying, like, as a kid, there was lots of things she just couldn't get in the store. It makes you grateful, to be honest, to have grown up somewhere where you didn't have that struggle. But it makes them lovely people. They're very, very warm. At least the ones I've met. Do you know, I think you're right. I mean, honestly, I'm a very introverted guy. I know it doesn't seem it on stream, but I prefer my own company. I travel alone. I'm not good at socialising in big groups. I prefer sort of small group or one-to-one interactions. But generally, I have faith in people. I think most people are... I know it sounds a bit happy-clappy, but I do think most people are fundamentally good. They're decent people. It's just either through circumstance or whatever, some people develop, I don't know, anger issues or all kinds of problems. But most people I meet are nice, to be honest. But I have found through travelling that there are some countries that are definitely more welcoming than others. Definitely. I know it's a stereotype to say the French are rude. I wouldn't say they were rude, but whenever I've travelled in France, I've felt far less welcome than other countries. Even when I've tried to speak French, and my French is fucking appalling. I know like 3 sentences. But at least I always try and like to make the effort, you know, at least when I'm buying a train ticket or something. And most countries, their faces light up when you try and speak their language, and they're really happy that you're trying. And even if you come across someone really grumpy, they tend to just switch when you make the effort. But in France, the opposite is true, because they seem to genuinely love their language, and when you butcher it, they take like a personal offence to it. Do you know, I've never been. I plan to go to South Korea next year. That's my goal. I want to go to Seoul, and that will be my first trip into Asia. I've never made it. I spent so much time pootling around Europe, and I think I've missed out by doing that, to be honest. But, you know, we're quite lucky. I believe Europe's the smallest continent, but it's the most divided in terms of different nationalities and cultures and dialects and so on. So at least you get to experience a lot of different kinds of people, but, I mean, you all still have sort of a common philosophical foundation. And see, that's really nice. You know, something like that happened to me in Montenegro. I was hiking up a hill in Montenegro, and part way up, there's an old guy who just lives in a farmhouse. I was like, cheese and whiskey? Yes, man. Yeah.
Magnussen, Sainz, they've taken a grid penalty. Williams and Mick Schumacher, Russell, Latifi, Raikkonen and Romain Grosjean sits at the back of the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
No, and I tell you what, I've met some really awesome people. I'm not super gregarious or outgoing, and I don't tend to start conversations with strangers, but if you travel alone and you insist on, you know, hiking or seeing the sights or whatever, things just tend to happen to you organically, just through circumstance. And actually, when I moved over to Germany on my flight moving here, I ended up being randomly assigned a seat on the plane next to a girl from Sheffield who already lived in Berlin, and she was going back to collect the last of her stuff because she was going back home. So we were going opposite ways. And we had an amazing conversation. Never spoken to her since, obviously, but it was a really pleasant journey. Yeah, true. Like, if your first experience in a country is someone being horrible, then yeah, it does tend to colour your view. But I have to say, in terms of the countries I've been to, the you bastards, of the countries I've been to, I have to say that generally in the Nordic countries, there's a I call it a warm politeness. It's not like an over the top, hey, how are you doing or whatever, but you get polite service. Fucking hell. You get polite service in the shops, which you don't get in Germany. In Germany, it's like there's an understanding that the people who are dealing with you don't want to work in a shop, so you have to kind of have to allow them to be a little rude to you. Mick Schumacher going for the dive bomb there. Did you see that? He just flew down the outside. Yeah, the sandwiches were actually... I mean, they weren't my fault because I didn't steer into anybody, but I put myself in a stupid place, so... Yeah, he doesn't chicken out like me. I get scared now. I'm always worried Beetlejuice will judge me harshly. But also what I found as well is the Dutch are very, very nice. As long as you're not like a drunk British tourist. If you're just a British tourist, then they're very, very nice. And their English is always amazing. I worked with a Dutch girl when I first moved to Berlin, and we worked together for about 18 months before I found out she was Dutch. Because I only ever heard her speak English, and she had a perfect Leicestershire accent. So I just thought she was from Leicester. She had like an English-sounding name, and... no, turns out she was Dutch. Yeah, the Nordics also speak quite good English, it's true. Although you tend to find that they're more likely to have an American accent. Whereas the Dutch speak British English, in my experience, the ones I've met at least. So if they've had a particularly good teacher, like the colleague I worked with, don't know, mate, you get by here. They tend to speak sort of a really clear British English, and I genuinely couldn't tell the difference between one of my own countrymen and her. I intended to start on the harder tyre, like we did in Singapore, but actually, given the raw pace that we seem to have, I figured there's not really the necessity in the same way to run long and then try and gain more places on the faster tyre at the end. I'm going to follow the same strategy as everyone else and see what happens. Mick Schumacher though, up to 16th. The boy's coming good. I have to say my goal here, definitely though, is a point. I believe we have the pace for at least P10, at least. You can always... The Germans, I find... struggle to speak English as well as the Dutch, and I guess it's probably the same reason that
DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
That I struggle with some German pronunciation because you sort of get muscle memory in your mouth, and German and English make use of different fricatives and so on. So Germans, for example, seem unable to say squirrel without sounding ridiculous. Whereas because when you speak English, you don't really move your upper lip. Anything that involves manipulation of the upper lip, I can't pronounce because my stiff upper lip, right, the cliche. It's got a double meaning. Most people don't know that. Partly it's like the post-war spirit and not letting things get you down. but it's also referring to the fact that the English language, you don't really move your top lip, you don't shape it to make sounds very much. Oh, I remember that advert. You know, it got banned. It was considered racist. But most Germans I know really like it, so I don't know who was offended. And yeah, like, I mean, the Germans also call us the Inselaffen, island apes or island monkeys. And I've never been offended by that term because it doesn't feel racially charged. It feels like good-natured ribbon between friends. So when I get called an island monkey, it's like, it's no big deal. Actually, I work with a Frisian guy, and one of the coolest things, I saw it on a documentary once. They were talking about the history of the Germanic peoples and the migrations and so on, and how German, Dutch, and English are all deeply related languages, and Dutch is sort of somewhere between the two. Because I find that, you know, I'd see emails in Dutch when I first moved here from my Dutch colleagues, and I could grasp what they were saying. I couldn't speak the language, but I could read the email and have a good idea of what they were talking about. And the Frisian guy I work with can speak Frisian, and that has the same rhythm in the way you talk as English does. And I saw it happen on TV, but I didn't know if it was really like that, because this guy was, you know, travelling across the Germanic countries, and he was demonstrating the shared culture and language and whatnot. And he was talking how Frisian is mutually intelligible with English, even though it doesn't share a vocabulary, and I couldn't grasp that at all. But once I met this Frisian guy, he would speak Frisian to me, and I'd know what he was saying. I could answer him, and we could have a conversation. But I honestly can't tell you how I knew what he was saying, because the words are not the same words. So it's fascinating. I love things like that. I really do. Things that sort of lay how interconnected we all are, really, and how we're more similar than different. I love things like that. Oh, you're a Frisian as well? Oh, awesome. And I also love, because I speak a bit of Norwegian as well, and English, modern English, is about 1/3 Old Norwegian, a third sort of Dutch German, and a third French with Latin loan words. And it's really interesting to see how words sort of survive but have slightly different meanings in each region, because the meaning has changed historically. For example, like the word for girl in German is Mädchen, and the English cognate is maiden, which is a word that exists, but you wouldn't have used it, you know, in the last 2 centuries probably, because it sounds really old-fashioned to us, but it's still the word they use for girl today. Here. And then with Norwegian, the word for time is tid. And obviously Norway's a seafaring nation, and so is Britain. And we took the word tid, made it tide, and that's used to refer to the times of day where the sea is either in or out. So it's like a sailing terminology. It's really fascinating, and like the exit signs in Norway are marked Utgang, and that sounds super Scottish because you know, my dad will say "oot" instead of "out," and particularly in Glasgow, they'll say they're gang somewhere rather than going somewhere. Well, I mean, they all share a common language. I got really into like early Nordic history, and around the time of sort of the Viking invasions, the Norse speakers and the Germanic, Proto-Germanic speakers, they would have had the same kind of relationship in their languages as English and Frisian do today. So they could understand each other. And words kind of just were shared through having a common root word or through like trade and interaction with each other. You know, history used to bore the arse off me in school, but now I love it. I can't get enough of it because it just makes everything seem real. When you're a kid, it's all just dates in a book, but then there's, you know, a moment where you realise actually they were people just like you, and all that stuff really did happen. And I think that's always a big moment for me. I was in I was in a stave church outside Oslo, and it's a really old original church. Like the outside sort of porch. Why was I so slow there? Like those two just shot past me like that. Oh. A bit too crowded to be trying to make some overtakes here. But yeah, the original, like the inside of the church, the inner part was original. Yes, mate. So like the really Scandinavian style churches. And this church was super old, like we're talking 1,000 years. And inside, on a pillar, there's a carving someone made, you know, like 900, 1,000 years ago. It's in runes, Old Norse, and it reads, "Kiss upon me, I'm carrying a heavy load." And like that was that moment for me, because someone having a really crappy day took out a knife and carved those words into a church, and it shows like the changeover between pagan and Christianity, right? Because traditionally they would have like statues of the gods, and they would leave notes for them and requests and ask them favours and leave them little gifts, and this carving would have sat below a picture of a saint, they think. So he was doing a Norse pagan practice to a Christian saint. But the point is, like, that's real human experience, right? Someone who was having a really rough time was asking for help, and yeah, that totally got to me. That and there's the Viking Ship Museum in Oslo as well, which has the best preserved longboats I've ever seen, and those are just masterpieces. The carving on those things will blow your mind if you haven't seen them. And one of the longboats is actually completely intact. It's insane how beautiful the things were. So well engineered. The classic overtaking the pit lane there. Up to P9 in the first stint. That's really, really good. Yeah, almost pulled a Hamilton. Well, it's because, I'll be honest with you, part of me, back in my mind, was thinking I should stay out because the tyres are still good. But it's better to stop now. That was our fastest pit stop ever, 2.2 seconds. So we were averaging sort of 2.6, 2.7 seconds. So good pit stop, boys. It still means we come out behind Gasly, but we don't lose any places to the racing point. Right, I want to get past Gasly early, because we have the pace and I don't want him to warm his tyres up too much. We haven't got the pace of Sainz, unfortunately, but that's fine. Riding the curbs there was a mistake. Close enough that we'll have the DRS. That was really inexcusably bad. I'm sorry. I apologise profusely to everybody. That was awful. I don't even know why I thought I could pull that off. You see, I catch right up to the back of him, but then in a corner, he just has so much more pace because his car holds the racing line better.
Nick is coming in for his stop.
Teammate in the pits.
We're trailing our teammate
Right.
by 9.3
Pressing the overtake button. We're beating Kvyat, that's good, that's what we wanted. That's how you overtake.
We have 5 laps of fuel remaining.
See, I can remember when I try. Still, I'm proud of myself for having such a clean Singapore. Yeah, I'm totally happy with that. I think that's completely reasonable. At some point, I plan to run in parallel a driver career mode starting in F2, and for that I'm going to really crank the difficulty up and make it as hard for myself as possible. I may even do a pro career mode. It just depends how badly my ability to interact with you is affected by the constant gear shifting and not having some visual cues that help me partition my brain. He broke early there. That wasn't my fault, but I should have moved to the side. Right, but he's going to brake early again, so I will move so I don't... Yeah, that's better. It's funny actually, if you weave a little bit while you're braking, which is technically against the rules if you do it while defending, it seems to shorten your braking distance. So it's actually a good way to close up to people. But there's no way we have the pace of the McLaren. I'm hoping though that Ocon is slow, Norris gets by, and then, for fuck's sake, and then we can follow him through. This is the track in the year where I get the most trouble with corner cutting, and the problem is it's not really. If you watch the race, it is the line drivers take, because you only get a penalty if all 4 wheels pass outside the white line. But in the game, it's always a bit stricter, and I'm taking what I think is the fast line and cutting the corner with 2 wheels, which is within the spirit of the rules, but the game doesn't like it. And I have to get out of it because I'm playing multiplayer as well, and that's got the strictest corner cutting penalties, and I've been so good so far with having no qualifying laps discounted and not getting any penalties for corner cutting, but if I ever run Russia, it's definitely going to happen, so... Oh, didn't hit him, we didn't hit each other. That was pure seat of my pants instinct there, that I saw an opportunity that was not going to come up again, and I was like, yeah, go for it. Lick the stamp, send it. Ocon is on the hard tyre. I don't know why the AI would run the hard tyre on a 25% distance race. It's a tyre you really don't need to run. I hate the hards, and I will go out of my way to not run them unless I have a really, really slow car anyway, that I'm down at the back of the grid and I'm running a 100% race. Because even at 50%, it's hard to make it work. Because on a 100%, it might help you turn a 2 or 3 stop race into a 1 stop race. So you actually gain 20-30 seconds depending on the pit lane. So you can make it work. But over 50% race distance, all it does is just make you slow. Sorry, under 50% race distance. I'm too far back, I think.
Okay, you're in the top 10.
No. It's up, definitely, but it's not up as high as it should be. I can't believe I lost out to Ocon there. I got past him cleanly and then just didn't have the pace. And it's not even an issue of tyre wear as well, right? It's the time lost in the pits, because time lost in the pits you can claw back over a full race distance, but if you're doing like I'm doing 25%, you can't possibly make a second pit stop work, because there is not enough laps to claw the time back, even if you're on a really fast tyre. And then the inverse is true. If you run the hard tyre, there's not enough laps to make the strategy make sense. What a gibbon. Right, staying in slipstream a bit longer. See what that was? That was me trying to hold a line the car isn't stable enough to hold. So there I made it by coming off the throttle completely, and this is what I was complaining about in some of the previous races, that the other cars can stay on the power but we just don't have the updates on the car yet to get it to hold the line, and the car will naturally run out to the opposite side of the track, and then you'll get your wheels on the curb, or even worse onto the green carpeting strip on the outside, and then you just spin. But it's all learning, it's all valuable learning. And I feel far more comfortable with this game out of the box, but also increasingly so as the season progresses. It's nice to test the limits, and then this year I'm aiming for no DNFs in the Failcast F1 podcast. I've done that once before. The 2014 season, I didn't have to change my front wing once. And I want to do that again. So if I make all my mistakes here, which hopefully is the case, but we know it's probably not true, then we'll be good. Okay, Perez ahead. He's 4.7 seconds clear, and it's going to stay that way, I suspect. What I need to do is get out of DRS range of Norris, because he's going to bother me. Something I found interesting as well, I was watching someone else's stream last night, and he'd chosen the Renault power unit, and it was interesting to see the difference, because for one thing, he was getting far more life out of his power unit, but also it definitely seemed to be faster. But the price he paid for that, of course, in his first season was that his car was really, really bad.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Yes, P9. I know I had to scab it a bit, but ka-ching. Screenshotting that.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrow.
Oh yeah, FP3. I'm going to carry on streaming, because I'm not going to watch FP3, given it's FP2 that counts if they cancel qualifying. But I will definitely stop streaming for qualifying in 3 hours and come back afterwards. Alright, what's going on in the rest of the world?
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part.
Oh, here's something I want to throw out, and this goes for YouTube chat as well, because this will be on YouTube eventually. Can anyone recommend a good webcam for streaming? Because I've got a 4K camera, but it's like a proper big thing, and it runs on battery, and obviously that's bad for streaming, I think. So what I really need is to get a proper dedicated webcam. And 4K ones are a lot pricier than the HD ones, of course, but it feels stupid not to get 4K given that everything's going to be 4K pretty soon. So if anyone has a recommendation for a good one, please do let me know.
It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table.
Charles Leclerc, extra point there for fastest lap.
Rank as your driver of the day.
I have to give it to Williams. They fought so hard and had incredible pace at times, so I don't think anyone else did a better job today.
Let's take a look where we are in the standings now. So we're still ahead of Danny Rick. I don't think it will be that way by the end of the season. And in the constructors, we are even on points now with Renault, which is what I predicted actually. They will definitely get past us. But I think 6th is a realistic goal for the season, and will be a very, very good first season. An incredibly good first season, given that Haas have a better car than us and more experienced drivers, and they haven't scored any points at all. I think 6th is a realistic goal. FP3 counts if someone totals his car. Oh, does that mean that Danny Rick, because he was out in FP2, does that mean if he blasts it today in FP3 it will count for him?
Your team must be ecstatic with how you're performing. It was more like dodgems than Formula 1 today, wasn't it?
Those were just friendly nudges. They were, I was being friendly. Introducing myself. Tell you what though, for all the mistakes, there have been in this season some overtakes that I'm genuinely proud of. I would recommend this game to anybody who's on the fence about it. It's been the most fun racing I've had in one of these games, I think in the whole series. And I'm not the only one actually. The other streamers I've been checking out, they've all said the same thing, like I can't put the game down. This is the most I've played one of these games in the launch week, by far. It's not even close. And I tried streaming career mode with F1 2019, and I had to give up. I couldn't make myself do it. I just wasn't enjoying it. The podcast is different because that's just fun. But, manage sponsors. So, qualifying P10 or better. I'm going to try and change from Pay Night, although the logo does suit our livery a little bit. I want to see if I can get something else. Achieve the fastest lap, we're never going to do that. 33 constructors. That's a nice logo, but we'd never get the bonus. Out-qualify your rival. Top 4 finish. Achieve pole position during qualifying. That's a big payout, but we'll never do it this season. But can you see how we've unlocked more sponsors? There's way more sponsors here to choose from now. And some nice logos coming up. That's a really weak goal. 10 laps during a race weekend. That's a really weak goal bonus. That pays 176k as a goal bonus, and is more achievable than this one. This pays 116. Yeah, we'll go back to these guys, I think. So we will have to update our livery once more. It's not the best logo, I know, but it'll do for now, because I really want to take a step forward next season. Okay, activities. Let's see what we can do here. I really want to keep pushing Mick Schumacher, but not really possible. Supplier HQ tour, I think that's a good use of time. And sponsor advertisement brings in money as well, so maybe we make it a sponsory kind of weekend, and then we'll do aero team building. There was nothing in there that boosts Mick Schumacher, so we have completed our Spec 1 updates to the aerodynamics and powertrain departments. What I'm going to do now is either save up for sponsor relations or amplify the positive effects of team activities and just get everything up to level 1. Either that or invest more in personnel, but actually that's a bit rich for our blood, isn't it? Actually, that's just benefits. I have to say, I think the Alpha Tauri is the best looking car this year. At some point, I am going to have to invest in the durability department, but today is not that day. Let me save the money and we'll figure out what we're going to do with it. We'll collect some more R&D points by running time on, and then we'll see if we can unlock anything else. But finally, our upgrade package is ready, or at least 2 of them.
We were expecting some new developments to come through, but some of them have failed the quality control. Make sure you indicate
Oh, God
what
damn
you
it.
have redeveloped via the R&D screen.
Oh, can we afford... Oh no, we can't. Well, we have the best Honda power unit once again. We need to upgrade our facilities to unlock more. So some of the tree is actually locked behind factory upgrades. That's a nice touch, actually. I appreciate that. Okay, let's get that back into production. How about that?
You're not currently in a rivalry. Sooner or later, you'll probably be asked by the media who you consider to be your rival. Think carefully who you select.
I am thinking carefully who I select. That's why I'm not selecting anybody.
If you fail to do so.
Oh, fuck.
Technical regulations are changed for the better. Now there's a risk a lot of our hard work could be undone if we're not careful. So let's figure out how to mitigate this. Drivers, take a look at the developments we have and let us know what you want to invest in protecting. Alright everyone, let's get on top of this.
That's really mean. It's not usual that the game throws a regulation change at you in the first season. At least in the last game, it would be season 2 or maybe season 3 before that happened. we've just been kicked squarely in the testicles. Rather hard. Well, hopefully it's like durability or something that's subject to the regulation change, and then we don't have that much we have to spend money to preserve. It may allow us, though, to start next season ahead of Haas and Williams, because I'm guessing that they won't have the resource points to preserve everything, and we just about might. Alright, let's see the damage. Oh god, they're changing everything.
What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I prioritised the major upgrades. Oh, this is painful. Well, it's going to make for an interesting season 2, isn't it? It does, because it totally shakes up the grid next year as well. I'm not going to take a grid penalty in Japan. I will take it in the USA, because out of the tracks that remain, USA and Dubai are my worst ones. Brazil and Mexico are my strongest, and Japan's somewhere in the middle. And we want to maximise our points. Yeah, and a Honda engine, you're right. What I am going to do, though, is seesaw development on the car and just work now to preserve what we've already got on there, in the hope that that's enough to give us a strong car to start the season with next year. I intend to stick with Honda power. I may never change, because Honda is my favourite Formula 1 engine supplier, but I will put it to democratic vote when the time comes. So now I desperately want to make it to the end of the season today, because I want to see how the grid looks next year, and I want to see how the driver market changes. Because Jordan King has to be on a comeback. He has to. He rates too highly. And it turns out Beetlejuice was correct. Mick Schumacher, relative to some of the other rookies, does seem a bit OP, because while he's not scored any points, obviously, because the car's not good enough, but he's been getting some solid finishes. Can we...
If it were me, this is probably what I'd invest
Yeah,
in.
let's save that. We're going to have another season of penalties next year, aren't we, for durability? I should have invested in durability, I know I should have, but to be honest, I can handle penalties. As long as I strategically pick circuits where it's not jeopardising points, because I wouldn't get points anyway, then it's just fun starting from the back and having the racing that I can, and I've not come off any poorer in terms of points or prestige. I keep calling it prestige, it should be acclaim. Maybe Tatiana Calderon is actually really good. Maybe at some point we'll give her a crack, eh? I might just make this playthrough just constantly, like, I can only ever hire a rookie. That could be fun. But it wouldn't be what I'd really do if I was really running the team, of course. Okay, we're going to end in the rain at the next Grand Prix, so that tells me I don't want to go contra strategy, I need to start on the softs. That's useful information. Let's go get a banker in. Can you tell I've got my serious face on now? Gone quiet. If anything good happens in FP3, by the way, please do let me know. I'm also curious to see if Danny Rick has a better session, because I felt a bit bad for him, and I don't know if he just genuinely ballsed up, or if the new part they were testing on the car made it unstable. But hopefully he's not injured. I didn't see anything in the news about it, but he was limping really badly when he left the car, and it made me worry. Of course not. Oh, that's not a good sign for qualifying, is it? Because also, that doesn't strike me as a circuit that's going to clear rain very well, being in the mountains as it is, because the pit lane and the start-finish straight are essentially at the bottom of the hill, and all the water, as it clears from the higher part of the circuit, unless they've got exceptional drainage, is just going to run down and flood the start-finish straight. Yeah, maybe it drains generally well, and I'm worrying over nothing. But how was that? Not good.
Our best lap so far is a 1 minute 31.2.
Let's try again. Bollocks. I'm really desperate to make this work now. I want to do a good job. Just have to be a little more cautious about carrying speed into T1, that's for sure. Because the car can't hold it like the car I have in the 2019 career mode that I've just stopped playing, where that I can throw the car into everything full throttle and it just handles it. And look at that, that's appalling. That's appalling. I'm going to wait till the track rubber's in a bit. Okay. One last try. Where I get really worried is if I'm behind the Haas's in qualifying. I don't mind, going out in Q1. It's if the Haas's out qualify us where I'm worried, because although they've got a better car, we should be beating them, or at least I should be beating them. And sometimes Mick Schumacher beats them, to be honest. Well, Schumacher's out qualified us so far, that much is clear. Oh, that was a squeaky bum moment.
Okay, there's 2 minutes left in this session and we're in the drop zone. We need a quick lap, or that's qualifying over.
I'm trying to give you one, but I just keep running into slower cars. I've got another Williams ahead of me now that I'm going to catch. And I always catch them into the braking zone of a corner so they don't move out of your way. We could have been faster as well, but we lost time behind Schumacher and Latifi because of the lines I had to take into those corners. Oh, but we gained a lot of time there. Oh, still out-qualified by Schumacher. That's the best. That's the best I've got, I think. That's what the car's got to give. I will finish this lap in the hope that maybe I can squeeze something out, but it compromises our race start because we're going to have extra worn tyres. So it'll be an early pit stop, a very short first stint. No. See, every time I think I've found some time, I have to brake. And then I lose it all again. So, what was a strength at the start, the cornering of speed of the car, seems to have suffered. Please get out of my way, George Russell. My spidey senses are tingling and you're going to ruin my lap, I can tell. Feeling the tension now. Come on with the car. Again, Sector 3 might be what saves us. No idea where we finished. 17th. That's not a good sign because I think that still puts us behind Schumacher, but but let's see. So Bottas is your pole sitter, looks like. Oh no, we did beat Schumacher and Giovinazzi, but we didn't make it into Q2. That's fine though, we get free choice of tyres. I can start on the mediums, finish on the softs, and hopefully recover something, but I doubt it will be points, based on the way the car fails to synergise with this circuit. It keeps giving me people I can't possibly beat. I'm just going to pick Carlos Sainz so it stops asking me. We're already working on upgrades, which we are.
How do you feel about this team's performance this season? Appreciate your time.
And I appreciate yours, love. Cheers. Tatty bye. 2.5 hours till qualifying in the real world. I'm hoping in that time I can get 1 or 2 more Grand Prix out of the way and then we can come back in the afternoon for a final dash. Oh, that's not a good sign. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. My gut is telling me then that they're going to cancel qualifying. Yeah, please do, mate. Thanks for hanging out. Maybe I'll catch you later. If not, have a lovely day.
Tough luck there. It's not quite where we'd want to be on the grid, but chin up, it's not the end of the world.
Oh, we've got a power unit upgrade for this race. It is their home Grand Prix, so it kind of makes sense. Okay. Might as well just dive straight into the race then, eh? I'm going to be quiet and very focused for this race because the car does not like this track at all, and we're going to go contra strategy and see if we can recover something, but it doesn't look good. It also seems that the power unit upgrade from Honda came just now because it was in the intra-session messages, so maybe we have a bit more power, but power is not the problem for us on this circuit because if we get the corner exit right, we seem to have the legs to compete with the teams around us. It's holding through the fast corners where the car is really struggling.
Welcome along then to the magnificent Suzuka.
Let's see how the grid lined up, eh?
A stone's throw away from each. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position. And
imagine my shock.
Line up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo.
Oh, Ricciardo, that's a good session.
And Norris.
And McLaren have been really resurgent in the second half of this season.
Pierre Gasly, Leclerc, Vettel. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Lance Stroll and Magnussen, Grosjean, Williams, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Mick Schumacher, Russell, Perez, Raikkonen, and Nicholas Latifi.
Okay. Let's see what we can achieve. If the loading times allow.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
Yeah. I will take that. Yeah, we're definitely on a slower tyre compared to the cars around us. Good start off the line though. Fucking hell. That was me being stupid. I broke super early there because I just didn't want to get pinched. Turn 1 at Suzuka is always a bit of a bloodbath for me if I try and be too aggressive. I'll disable the overtake for now because we're getting slipstream from a lot of cars ahead of us, and it's more really just about keeping pace with them for now, and then once they start to separate out, it'll be easy to overtake people. Our teammate had a good start as well. He's tucked in right behind us. Okay, Stroll up next, 6/10 ahead of us, but it seems like we were faster until we derated. Vettel down in 12th, so he got off the line badly. I mean, he was starting P11, I think, but it looks like an AlphaTauri got ahead of him. Actually, why has it started me on the red wall tyre when I wanted the yellows? I must not have confirmed. That's annoying.
DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
We're still just within DRS range of Stroll, so maybe we can play catch up over this lap thanks to that.
Engine is showing small signs of wear. Power output will be down.
Yeah, we were expecting that. So big power unit penalty in USA, for sure, because I want to finish the season strongly, and Mexico and Brazil are two of my strongest tracks in the season. Don't know if the car will like them, but I do. So I want to make sure I avoid any penalties there. Should get DRS. There we go. Magnussen gets it too, because we haven't quite built up a gap to him yet. Bit of battery power here, and then a big load of battery power coming up shortly. I think that seems to provide us with the best performance over a lap. So we'll come out of here, and then on the battery. And then that helps us compensate for our clear power disadvantage. And then, as usual, we catch up to him in the braking zone, but then he just disappears off into the sunset with his superior power on corner exit.
Strategy is available on the MFD. We're leading our teammate by 2.7 seconds.
Keep current.
Copy that.
Keeps offering me zero stop strategies, which are against the rules and will see me disqualified. So that's a bug that needs to be fixed. I think I'm pushing a little too hard. I'm not really catching Stroll, but we are definitely, the pair of us, catching the cars in front. I guess there's some fighting going on up ahead that's slowing the the cars fighting for the last of the points down and allowing us to reel them in slowly. Fortunately now the battery is completely drained and this car's not the best at refilling it, so we'll have to accept we're going to slip back against Stroll now because we were maintaining pace only through use of the battery.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the hards.
No, I fucking won't. Medium tyres.
Didn't catch that. Say again.
Medium tyres.
Gap to teammate behind is 3.
That isn't even remotely what I was saying.
They're on old softs. They're in 16th. The time last lap was a 1:33.6.
Mediums.
Say again, you're breaking up.
Fine, I'll use the stupid fucking MFD. There we go. Some early stoppers. So we're going longer on our soft tyres than the others. Don't know why then it was insisting on putting me onto hard tyres, because I really don't like the hards and it's hard to make them work over such a short stint. And that's everyone else in the pits as well.
Box, box. We're coming in this lap.
Quite a few people switching to the hards actually. Okay, let's see how embarrassingly slow the pit crew are today. I mean, our pit stop times have been absolutely abysmal. Mick Schumacher's still ahead of Giovinazzi, that's pretty good. I'm guessing everyone else is in this lap, which means we are double boxing and it's going to really screw up Mick Schumacher. Actually no, I'm just far enough ahead actually that I should be out by the time he pulls in, but we'll be in the pit lane at the same time. Oh no, he's staying out. He will be temporarily race leader. Look at that. Come on, we have to beat that horse.
Go, go, go. You'll be racing on the exit. Exit, exit now. Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
Okay, we haven't gained or lost any positions then during the pits. Giovinazzi switching to the hards, that's surprising.
There's 5 laps of fuel remaining. Mick is in the pits. Mick in the pits. We're a +1 lap of extra fuel. Fuel target +1. Gap to teammate ahead is 12.9 seconds. Okay, the gap behind is 4.5 seconds. We're expecting rain in around 10 to 15 minutes.
I guess the rain then is not actually going to affect the Grand Prix at all. Seems odd as well, as soon as he says that, the sun comes out.
We're leading our teammate by 9.1 seconds. There's 3 laps of fuel remaining.
Let's burn some of that off then.
This is your final lap of the race. Green flag. We've pretty much burned off our excess fuel. We'll be back on target soon. Don't wait too long to turn the engine down. Less than a lap of fuel now. The tank is empty.
That's the best we could do. Clearly we just didn't have the pace over a lap of Lance Stroll, not without DRS systems and really liberal use of our ERS system. But I enjoyed it, and there was one or two nice overtakes, a couple of silly mistakes, but that's part of the course. Particularly with a less than cooperative car.
That's a spectacular victory then, and with it, the championship is secure. It's been a magnificent season, and they thoroughly deserve the cheers of the crowd here today. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out there.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making...
Oh, Danny Rick on the podium. Good boy.
Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
He got P2 as well. That was a hell of a drive. Just goes to show you can't count people out.
Let's see what effect this result has had on the driver's standings. It's a great result for Lewis.
So Danny Rick has
Hamilton, who
beaten
moves
us, and
further
yes,
ahead
we've
at
dropped
the
to
top of the
6th
table.
in
Now, let's
the
discuss that.
the Constructors' Championship,
It's
which
been a
totally
driver
makes
of the
sense.
day.
Charles Leclerc showed exactly how to manage yourself out on the track today. He was
So onwards we go. Up next, USA, where we're going to take a pretty severe engine penalty, which is better here than somewhere else. Then Mexico, Brazil, and finally the United Arab Emirates, and then we're done.
Pretty happy with that. It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations, isn't it? After all the teams have updated their cars for next season's regulation changes, where do you think you'll come out? Great. Well, that's everything.
Some nice bonuses there as well, because we squeezed into the top 14. Okay. So we have 3 days before an invitational event. How do we want to spend that? Second driver PR filming, I think, is a good option. Then we have, what, 5 days left? Yeah, G-force training, I think, and aerodynamics upgrade. That seems like a good use of our time. In terms of R&D, didn't get many points there, but our upgrades seem to be on course. Let's jog time on a bit. What's this invitational? Pursuit. No, I want to get to the end of the season. In terms of facilities though, we do have a bit more cash to throw around. The question is where to spend it. Sponsor relations. That's a huge it's a huge handout of cash, but important. Okay, we are taking a brand new power unit. It's going to put us to the back of the grid, but we'd probably be there anyway, so whatevs, right? And then in terms of R&D,
I recommend we could go for something like this.
and yeah, we'll save as many parts as we can for next year. And we will replace our gearbox as well, because we don't get a penalty for that. Not that it would really matter at this point. Loosen myself up a little bit. We now have 2 hours until qualifying is supposed to take place, but it sounds like it's probably going to be off. I mean, you'd think it wouldn't rain for 2 hours, but I don't know what the drainage situation is like. It sounds pretty horrific. Penalty is now confirmed. I need another tasty beverage. I'll be right back. There we go.
What do you think of this one?
Avante. This circuit, based on what we saw in Japan, it is not going to suit the car at all. But we'll plough on. A bit stupid of me. I was right, the car does not hold at all to the line I want to follow. I've got a feeling it's going to be another overheated tyres scenario. So, at least one thing is clear, the priority for upgrades now will be the chassis department, with the aim being to redistribute weight and get some cooling wheel rims on the car so that we don't get the biggest performance deficit, which comes through massively overheated tyres, usually the front left. What I want though for real is more wet qualifying sessions. P2, but a second off Lewis Hamilton, so there's going to be a lot of filling in the gaps, I think. No traffic, please no traffic, please. Please no traffic. Not the best sector one I've ever had, but a definite improvement. I lost some time in places where I really shouldn't have done, but we managed to recover it by the end of the sector, so that's something. Broke way too early for that corner. And now I'm paying for it. Boosh. The car still doesn't feel very good though, so I don't know how this is going to translate. I'm hoping, given that we've got pace, that Mick Schumacher does too, and he made it out of Q1, did he? No, but almost. Almost. I think we have a pace for Q3, you know. Arguably we shouldn't, but I think we do. What's going on here? I've got one shot at this. So let's see. I'm going to try it simply because if I can out-qualify Carlos Sainz, then that will do us some big favours. I always look backwards as soon as I jump back into the car because it's good to make sure that no one's close behind you as well, because that can also mess up your quali laps because they may force their way through, and if that happens you can end up being on a really shitty line. That was a pretty crap line as well, to be honest, but however fast we go here, I know it's not the fastest we could have done. But we broke a bit better for that corner, so... That's the worst corner on the circuit, I think. I always used to spin it there because there's a little dip part way around the corner and it used to make the car bounce. But they seem to have fixed that in subsequent versions of the game. Shit, I hit the curb, that cost you a bunch of time. Yeah, only P6 this time, but still, that's pretty good. Hopefully we did enough to squeeze through. We did, but Carlos Sainz makes it into Q3 as well. That means I have to do that again to actually out-qualify him. Tell you what though, it's a bit weird that the tracks that I think for sure the car's going to struggle at, it's been quite good, and the ones where I think it's quite good, it's let me down. This time, better line into T1 and avoid the curb on the final corner. In the words of Montel Jordan, that's the way we do it. Well, this is how we do it. Never let it be said that I allow myself to misquote Montel Jordan without correcting. Brake early, hit the apex, stay off the curbs. Nice. Just have to do that on the way back. And make sure here to brake a little earlier as well. So maybe here. And then the car will actually kiss the apex, and that should be the fastest line. But as we have no delta time yet, we've got nothing to compare it to. I don't think it's good to be shifting down in some of these corners, but it is what it is. This car though really does remind me of the Season 1 Haas. Some places it's ridiculously good, other places it's piss poor, and there's not really a pattern as to why. Broke traction there, but managed to catch it, so I don't think it cost me too much time. Maybe a few fractions of a tenth. This is where I could make or break my lap though. Stay off the curb. Brake, brake, brake. Avoid the curb on exit. Straight on the DRS. Only good enough for P7 now.
You've fallen down the order.
But you know, 5th to 6th to 7th, I mean 7th is still really, really strong for us. And we have 2/10 to Carlos Sainz. So Norris pips us at the end and we line up P8. But we out-qualified Carlos Sainz. That's a big deal. Because I didn't think we'd do that again this season. It wasn't a race.
How do you feel these grid penalties are affecting the sport? It's got to be a relief to qualify that far up the grid. Do you think this team are performing as well as they could do? Great. Well, that's everything.
I should have no commented that first question, but I wasn't thinking properly. Well, no playing around with strategy this time. We've got no option but to start immediately on the soft tyre. Slightly shorter first stint because I think the wear on the softs was a little higher than I would have liked it to be. Bang on the mediums, not touching the hards, and hope that we can bring it home in the points.
So, unfortunately, we've picked up some grid penalties, and we'll be starting.
Oh, actually, we start at the back, don't we?
How bad it is, that'll depend on what the other drivers get.
Yeah, we start at the back. I forgot about that. Okay, no points. I almost let myself believe there for a moment that we were going to have a good session, but I guess not. I guess it was not to be. Oh, it's pissing with rain. This could actually work to our advantage.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid.
Well, we're going to need the flashback button, but we like the wet. We're good in the wet. The loading times are bad though. See if we can get past anyone here. Oh, bugger. Putting down any power at all. This is my first time on the full wet. I've done the inters. That's a better start. Can't see a fucking thing though. That's lethal. That is lethal. Let's just sneak around the outside here. Don't mind me. Whew. What is he doing? Why did he just stop in the middle of the circuit then? That wasn't cool. See if he does it again. We'll be ready for him. Yeah, he does. But getting used to it now. It's a shame that my first laps in heavy rain have been on a race start.
That's a decent start. Good job.
Let's see if we can't capitalise on this now. It's really hard to see where the borders of each car is. Let's just... Okay, there we go, getting the hang of it now. Back in P14, that seems to be our unofficial home now. Apparently we are not stopping, which I thought was against the rules, but we're not. So I want to see now if the AI don't stop either. Wow, it's very gloomy. Got a bit too much power down on that corner exit, so it's cost me in the battle with Gasly. But I think we have the pace again in the wet. I love the wet in this game. This is fantastic. Can't see a fucking thing. I'm glad it's not like this at Monza or anything. Tell you what though, if I didn't have the corner indicators on, I'm not sure I could see anything.
Good job, nice overtake.
He backed out of that then, we didn't touch each other. I've not seen the AI do that before. I think he was probably being pushed a bit too wide. Hello, mate. Yeah, I won't go on too much longer because it will be qualifying soon, hopefully, assuming it's not cancelled. And then I'll be...
Use your overtake button more, it's time to utilise some of this energy.
And then if I can't finish the season before qualifying, which doesn't look likely, then I'll finish it afterwards. And then I'll be on a break for a few days. Learning how to use OBS and setting up the capture card and whatnot. By the way, if you know of a good 4K webcam, I'd welcome recommendations. I was going to go just full HD, but everything's going to be 4K soon anyway, so it makes sense to spend the money now rather than waste the money on something lower resolution and have to replace it in the short to mid-term. Noted. I will do that. In other news, I'm good in the wet weather again. I am loving the wet weather conditions. We started last because of a power unit change penalty, and we overtook Perez and Gasly very, very cleanly, and the other places we made up on the first lap because of the traffic all bunching up and us just being in the right place at the right time. Eventually I will catch Kvyat, but I'm trying not to push too hard because the aim is not to stop. I guess it just fills up with water, to be honest.
Take a while for the track to dry out.
Because if you have a hole in the underside of the car, it's going to have aero implications. So I guess they're just sloshing around in there. Oh, I nearly had him then. Oh, also, Honda gave us a new specification power unit for Suzuka, but it didn't help. We had a really bad race.
I definitely think we need to stay on this tyre a bit longer, but there's no question that the track is drying. We might be in a position to change soon.
Are we looking at the same track, Jeff? Because that's blatantly untrue. I can't see a fucking thing. It's belting down with rain. I know like the last 2 laps or so are supposed to be into quality laps, but no one else will pit, so I'd just be surrendering 30 seconds to the cars around me. Okay, let's see if this is the one. It looks to me though like we may not get a quali. It's a lot better now. And personally, I just watch for my tyre temps, and if the temps start climbing above what they've been throughout the rest of the stint, then that's, you know, that tells me time to switch a route. Because Jeff has a tendency to tell you too late, and you end up doing one really slow lap on tyres that are not fit for the conditions. But what I learned in my offline career mode is I had a race exactly like this one, so heavy rain to light rain, and I was in a podium position. I pitted for the Inters, and the pace was excellent, but I could only recover to 5th, so actually it cost me 2 places. So it wasn't worth stopping, but I thought that was a valuable lesson, and I won't make the same mistake today. I think it will be full wets all the way through, unless I see other cars ahead coming in. Yeah, I mean, actually, I was wondering why, because when they cancelled the qualifying for the US Grand Prix a few years back, that made total sense because it wasn't just the rain; it was like a full-on hurricane. But when you think about some of the wet sessions they've had in Malaysia that haven't brought out a black flag, then it seems odd to me that some rain in the Austrian mountains is too much for these cars to handle, particularly because they've got a lot more mechanical grip now. You know, you'd think with the fatter tyres, the wets and the Inters would clear even more water because they should be lifting more off the track. But I guess they're also scared of making a bad judgment call and having a horrendous accident. Still though, I'd be surprised if it rained this heavily for the next 2 hours or so. And then it's just a question of how good the drainage is on the track, which honestly is not something I know all that much about. Either the drainage could be excellent, or it could be all the higher sections of the circuits just drain into the start-finish straight and don't help. Because, you know, a track with so much verticality, it does make you wonder if the water's just going to naturally come down to the first and last corner, or if they've taken care of drainage properly. It's quite an old circuit, but Red Bull have put money into it, so... Shit. It's frustrating because I can see the points, but I'm not letting myself feel frustrated because that's when you make stupid mistakes. I do feel faster than the car in front, not faster than Ocon, but all we need is one DNF ahead of us, which I'm surprised we haven't had one so far given how atrocious the visibility and the weather are. But at some point I should be able to get by Fiat. I just bide my time. So I'm much better at managing power deployment in the lane than he seems to be. Either way, I'm really hoping that they decide to let us run the quali session, because I really want to see a full wet quali session with some of these very squirrely cars and some cars that look a bit more planted. I'd be interested to see as well what the Williams does, because it doesn't look like a fast car, but it does look planted. And that makes me wonder if it's actually going to be quite good in the wet, and I believe Russell's pretty handy in the wet. So I'd be hoping that they could surprise us, because I mean he was nearly in Q2 last time out. It was a bit of bad luck, I think, that he didn't make it through, because he fumbled a little bit in the first corner. I was a bit late on the power there, else I could have got him. Okay, deploy the battery. Stay in a strip stream? That's something completely different. Reveal to you all my darkest hobbies. He moved in braking zone, Matt. Naughty boy. But finally we've got past him, and
Brilliant.
that's horrible weather transition effects. That'll be it, because it's quite a fast corner, that. If you aquaplane there, you're fucked. Bring back Jacques Villeneuve and Ricardo Zonta. Those guys weren't scared of anything. Five laps to go. We lost quite a lot of time behind Daniel Kvyat there, but with how quickly we're gaining Ocon, I think we could get a point. I'm really pleased that they've gone back to the old style wet weather physics, because they suited me perfectly, and it was the only part of the game where I felt I had some genuine aptitude. And I was sad that last year that I just couldn't drive in the wet at all. Because when they cancelled F3, that made sense to me, because more inexperienced drivers, lighter cars with less grip and downforce, it just seemed like a more dangerous proposition. But I mean, F1 cars have run in some really horrendous conditions. I guess your Wussi's comment kind of gives it away, but does it really look like it's so bad they do need to cancel, or are they just being overly cautious? I mean, how much standing water are we talking? Hey Wodge, how's it going? I am having a great race in the rain. All my wet weather pace that I lost last year has returned, and I think we'll get past Ocon for a point. We may even get 9th if I stop making mistakes putting the power down. But we were 3 seconds behind Ocon before, and we've closed that up in no time at all. So that makes me think there's some potential here.
Circuit's definitely looking better than it was a few minutes ago.
So you reckon they're really going to cancel quali?
We might be able to get onto the intermediates.
I mean, I haven't seen the track. Beetlejuice was saying they're standing water at the second to last corner, and that does sound dangerous because it's a fast corner, and if you aquaplane, you're going to be in serious trouble. But as we were saying when you came back on, F1 cars have run in some really bad conditions down the years, and because I haven't seen the track, I don't know if they're being overly cautious or if it's a genuinely good call. But I was hoping that they'd run, because I think the Williams could benefit from being in the wet.
There's 4 laps of fuel remaining.
Yeah, it sort of feels that way, doesn't it? But again, that feels kind of cheap. It feels like they're deliberately avoiding a wet quali, which I think will provide huge entertainment value. Tinfoil hats at the ready, guys. Do you think this might be because the Ferraris and the Red Bulls look so unstable that there's an underlying feeling that perhaps they wouldn't qualify very well in the wet, and because the Red Bulls had a double DNF, failure to qualify and race well now really would compromise a championship worth watching. Oh, and the Haas, yeah. Although to be honest, the Haas isn't very good at being a racing car, but maybe they find out that secretly all along it's a great boat. They've just never known. Oh, we're about to inherit P10. We don't even have to overtake Ocon.
Okay, clear.
Did you notice there how I didn't overtake under yellow flag conditions, although I probably could have had a go? That's how you do it, AI. It seems he has just
You're in the
enough.
top 10 now.
He has just enough to keep me behind him. But it's alright because it's not them that we're fighting in the constructors anymore. Well, yeah, you're right, it should be really. And honestly, like I was saying earlier, I would have thought the wider tyres we have now, when in inter or wet configuration, would shift more water, so they should be able to run in more water than before, but because the contact patch of the tyre will be bigger and
We have 2 laps of fuel remaining.
there'll be more tread with which to displace water, but apparently not. Okay. Come on, come on. Oh shit. Out of energy again. Ah, that's a good point. Especially now the plank's made of metal rather than wood. So it's not even slightly absorbent. Although of course you could just up the ride height. Yeah. I was really looking forward to quali. Yeah, I mean, actually, I was talking with Simon about this in the podcast a few episodes back. I was watching some retro F1 races, and it could have been Monaco '98, and I think it was Tora Takagi in the Tyrrell. Ended up facing the wrong way, coming out of the tunnel into the swimming pool chicane. Middle of the track, facing the wrong way, no safety car, just a few yellow flags. Deal with it. I think I've screwed myself out of 9th place there. I just got a bit too aggressive, and I'm trying not to use the flashbacks, so it stands. My mistake. Yeah, I mean, I guess the marshals really just don't want to be responsible if something goes wrong. I mean, especially in this day and age, right? I mean, they're already saying all the right things politically. It's very easy with the power of hindsight to criticise any decision that they make. So they're probably looking at it and thinking, okay, what's the risk of a big accident from aquaplaning? If it's even slightly a risk beyond what they consider acceptable.
This is your final lap of the race.
No, but to be honest, I'd be more concerned about the drivers than the marshals, really, because the barrier technology seems really good, and the marshals shouldn't be on an active racetrack. I'll take that warning for corner cutting, because that was one of the best saves I've ever done.
Okay, this is Jeff. I need you to stop cutting the corners. If you keep it up, the stewards will award you a penalty.
Wow, I mean, we may not have got past Ocon, but the two of us have been catching a little gaggle of cars in front of us. My tyres have reached a point where they're just not as grippy as they were before. I guess also there's a risk it could degenerate into an omni shambles, right? Just Max Verstappen is your race winner. We have gone from P22 to P10 in what can only be described as an excellent Grand Prix. We just, at the end, didn't quite have the ability to get past Ocon cleanly, and in the end, a mistake on my part cost us P9. But being in P10 does... Hold on, it said Max Verstappen won. Why is Ferrari celebrating? Okay, Vettel won, so I guess Verstappen had a penalty. That's a nice touch that they put the team in raincoats, some of them, when the weather's rainy. P5 for Norris. That's a good showing.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium.
Yeah, no Verstappen on the
a sublime race today and a stunning win for Ferrari.
Long trench coat, murderer gloves. So Ferrari take the win, and that's a hell of a result, because they didn't qualify particularly well this Grand Prix or the previous 2 or 3. I guess that car must be very good in the wet, or the drivers are.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects.
So where did Verstappen end up?
This result narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
I have to give it to Williams.
Yeah.
They did a great job at getting the most out of their tyres without
okay, so either I was tripping or something, because I got a notification on my screen saying Max Verstappen race winner, and now Vettel is the race winner, and there's no penalty to Verstappen. So I don't understand. Mick Schumacher also gained positions up to P16. Oh no, that's where he started. P16. Okay. I did look at the incidents, mate. There was 2 warnings for me for corner cutting, but those were where I lost grip and had to come back onto the track. There's a DNF for Lewis Hamilton for mechanical failure, and then Antonio Giovinazzi got a warning for colliding with Magnussen. But aside from that, a very clean race. Very clean race from everybody. I didn't see anyone hit each other. I didn't hit anyone. But yeah, it definitely registered Max Verstappen as the first to cross the line, and then for some reason demoted him to P4 with no penalty and no context as to why. But I have been hearing about bugs. I've not seen it myself yet, but people have been reporting that qualifying ends one way and then the race starts with a totally different... racing with an illegal assist.
The fans really seem to enjoy that. It made it look easy.
Ah.
How's your grid count going to affect your strategy going into the race?
I need to do some media training.
Positions during the race, didn't you?
I wouldn't say the car was nimble and light or sticking to the track, so I'm going to put it down to the aero.
You're surpassing all expectations. Can anything or anyone stop you?
Not with this team, my own team. Oh, I got a chance to drop a pun, so got to do that. Got to drop the pun. I hope he delivered that line with like a cheeky wink. Well, I have to say, sweetheart, it didn't dampen my spirits. What are you doing later? And surprisingly, we are still losing to Carlos Sainz, but it's closer than I dared imagine when I agreed to it. Yeah. If you've seen the IT crowd, I imagine myself as like a Douglas Renham figure in my own team. Now listen here, sugar tits. We were discussing before you came back, Beetlejuice, that since we seem to be to some extent proven correct about Mick Schumacher being a good investment, we were wondering if Tatiana Calderon would turn out to also be a little bit OP compared to her stats to encourage you to hire a female driver. I'm tempted to give that a try. Yeah, we'll definitely be investing in Mick's development. We have an upgrade to our marketing department for sponsor relations, and we have... Yeah, it would, but I'm interested to see if that's what happens. And we have finished all level 1 updates to Aero, Powertrain and Chassis. Now, what happened while you were gone was the FIA flipped the table on the regulations, and everything except Aero is changing. How much does this one cost? I'm going to save and get the major upgrade first. You'd think you would, right? Depends how deep the simulation goes. Do you know, I might hire her for the start of next season, and then after that I will cease experimenting on my own team and start hiring based purely on meritocracy. All our sponsors are up in a week's time. Yeah, nothing else to report, really. I'm going to jog time on. I was hoping that we'd get some more R&D points, but we did not. What time are we on? It is an hour to qualifying. What do you guys reckon? Do we press on now, or do we come back after qualifying? Well, I mean, yeah. At the moment, I'm labouring under the delusion that qualifying may still happen. Let me see what the official app is saying and what Autosport is saying. We are free from the vice-like grip of the Chinese government straight after Abu Dhabi. And we're definitely going to end up better off for it because they were the lowest paying title sponsor. It's just I didn't know how difficult the game was going to be and I didn't want to screw myself by being over-ambitious. But they should have dropped us already since I removed the auto mod from chat. So now you can, type Free Hong Kong and... Yeah, exactly. It'll be the Vote Trump 2020 campaign title sponsor. This is not what I wanted to know. If you're interested, guys, Red Bull are having a flash sale for 48 hours on their merchandise. But auto mod is turned off, so that's like a deliberate decision from Twitch. That's so stupid. We should find an alternative to Keck, something that genuinely is offensive, and see if that gets through the auto mod. I'll come back to you with some suggestions. Okay, so what they're saying is, unless the rain eases off, it'll be unlikely that qualifying will take place on Saturday. Although F1 remains hopeful some running can take place. Pride Koala. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do at least qualifying, and we'll see if they announce anything. And if qualifying is cancelled, then I'll stay on and just blast through to the end of the season, and if not... Problem is, I've got nothing that will give me a real-time announcement of any decision. What happens if it's still stormy tomorrow? Like if the weather forecast is wrong? Do we just not get a race? It's not fair, is it? I mean, I was so looking forward to this season, and then the COVID hit, and at one point I was worried we wouldn't get a season at all. And it finally gets underway, and we have a great first race, and I think, oh great, back-to-back Grand Prix, and then now we've been diddled. I disapprove. I disapprove. Still though, having slept on it now, I decided I'm super happy about Mugello being added to the calendar. Yeah, that gives me time to run qualifying, right? And we'll wait for an announcement before I start the race. And yeah, I'll go from there. I just got a message on my phone that may mess with me meeting my target of finishing everything today, but it's still my aim.
I recommend we go for something like this.
Save all the parts. Okay, let's dive straight in. Viva la Mexico. What I might do tonight then, if qualifying does get cancelled, is order a massive curry and re-watch the Grand Prix from last week. Actually, no, but you're not a million miles away. It's a good guess. You've been an adult for a while, haven't you? You've been an adult for a while. To be fair, like, I'd never normally stream every day. I'm just completely addicted to this game, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on YouTube, even though it's a super long format, which normally doesn't work on YouTube. And so I'd be playing it anyway, and I don't want to like preclude people from seeing what goes on. But I'll only do it for the first season, I think, and then I need to get onto some kind of streaming schedule just to have respect for people's time. Right, let's go get a banker in and see how the track likes this circuit. I've got a strong gut feeling that Sector 3 is going to feel pretty horrible and lumbering, but the rest of it should be alright. But I really do really want to finish the season now, because the tech regs are being shaken up, which means the cars will be more shaken up than they would otherwise be. The driver carousel should begin, and I get to decide the Season 2 livery. I will have to come back and look at that because I can't see it on my interface. Already I know it's going to be good. Already. After Drive to Survive last year, there were some great Steiner memes doing the rounds. And you know, F1 has those like official photographs with quotes. There were some great fake ones from Steiner, like from the Austrian Grand Prix. He just said the schnitzels were fucking excellent. That's the one thing I will miss about Haas, Steiner being gone. But to be honest, I'm surprised he held on to his job as long as he had. I mean, he's super entertaining, but he didn't do himself any favours when he was running Jaguar, so it's not like he's got an amazing track record in Formula 1. I think he'll end up out of F1 again. I mean, he's still better than Colin Collis, who's just a random dentist. That's my favourite F1 fact as well. Like, he's just some dentist who somehow ended up running F1 teams. And now I know if there's ever a rumour about a new team and the name Colin Collis comes up, it's a lie. It's not going to happen. He would make a great bouncer for a nightclub.
Good job.
I feel sorry for Binotto, you know, because it's the same with football managers, right? They tend to get fired super quickly, and I've always thought that's a bit harsh because ultimately their control over what the players do on the pitch is limited. I mean, you can train them as well as you want, you can strategize as much as you want, but if the players are just not on it, but you bear the responsibility and they're still paid millions and millions. Did you also see Romain Grosjean publicly coming out saying he thinks it's unacceptable for Lewis Hamilton to earn 40 million a season? Do you guys think maybe his reason for saying that is because he'll be earning 0 million next year? So it's kind of like a redistribute the wealth kind of scheme. He's like, well, you know, it's not really fair for Lewis to be paid 40 million, so how about we only pay him, I don't know, 30 million, and then the other 10 could go to other drivers, you know, maybe Swiss French drivers with overheads for spare parts and brakes that explode. You know, compensation for driving a dangerous car, perhaps. Exactly. I should get danger pay. To be honest, he really should. Every time he straps into that Haas, they should both get danger pay. Given the brakes may explode on them at any minute, and if not, then there's every chance Steiner will one day really lose it and murder the pair of them. I mean, in last season's Drive to Survive, when Kevin Magnussen slams his door and then Steiner goes out into the paddock looking for him, I really thought we were about to see like a Franz Tost punching Scott Speed incident. Oh, hey man. Yeah, me neither. My theory has long been that because they're involved in the design of the car, but they don't manufacture it itself, that they've got some sort of blind spot to the issues with the car. I mean, the reason I say that as well, it's not just to be derogatory to Haas. It's HRT had the same problem buying their car from Dallara, but also 1 year Sauber ran an exact duplicate of the previous season's Ferrari, which was a really, really good car, and they could not get it to work. And it just goes to show that you can have the best components, but if you don't understand them when you put them together and try and set them up, you're not going to be able to get the best out of it. And it's hard to say really if the fault is genuinely with the brake discs or if it's something about the car that's putting undue load on the brake discs. I mean, also there's the Romain Grosjean factor, which we must never discount. Yeah, I mean, well, the discs they buy off the shelf from AP Racing, I think, and that's a big name in brakes. So I'm not entirely sure that the issue's with the discs itself, but maybe the braking system. I think the question we have to ask ourselves is, having seen the brakes explode on the Haas twice now, why would Marcus Ericsson do that? You're a naughty boy, Marcus Ericsson. Hey, Marcus. You're a different Marcus. I'm not blaming you for the problems at Haas. How are you doing, mate? I hope you're well. We are just speculating about whether we're going to have qualifying in Austria or not. It seems surprising to me if we're going to cancel it based on what I've heard, because again, F1 cars have run in worse conditions, it seems, but scary times. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting all my information from chat because I've been playing this game for a while now, but I heard that there was standing water at second to last corner, and as I pointed out earlier, it is a fast corner, so if you aquaplane there, you could be in trouble, but there's a big runoff area, so I don't know. I really don't feel qualified to say if they're just being overly cautious for some reason, or if it's genuinely necessary. Because they obviously don't want to have a big accident or questions coming up about their competency, but yeah, wow. And given that the cars are much bigger now and heavier and have a larger contact patch on the tyres, I would have thought they'd shift more water, but what do I know? I have absolutely no idea. I can only speculate that there was some 15th century drunk who just sort of blurted it out and it caught on. That's the only theory I can come up with, because it's a phrase that doesn't make any sense. Or maybe it's like an in-joke from the medieval period that we just won't get because we're not the cool kids. It could just be working as intended. Tell you what, the car is working a lot better here than I ever dared imagine it would. Dare we dream of having 2 good races in a row? I am indeed, yes. Whenever I'm streaming, because I like to stay involved with chat as much as I can, I do have to allow myself some indulgences in terms of liberal use of flashbacks, corner markers and traction control, just because when I'm trying to think or tell a joke or string together sentences while doing my best lap, then you're not getting the best of either. You're not getting the best of my brain nor the best of my driving. But I see far too many streams of this game where the player, for understandable reasons, is just silent all the way through the stream, and chat have to kind of entertain themselves, and I don't want to be excluded. You guys could start in-jokes about me and I wouldn't know. Actually, they already have. Purple in Sector 1, surely that's a mistake. Again, the slower corners were very late getting back on the power compared to other cars on the grid in this championship, but also other cars you can play in the game. No, but to be fair, Wodge, you and Beetlejuice are particularly good at holding me to basic racing standards. Like yesterday when we had to go through the entire replay of a Grand Prix just to see if I had accidentally taken out Sebastian Vettel. Only to be vindicated. It's a kinder name than Edward Dildo Hands. It's a kinder name than Edward Dildo Hands. But like him, I do fuck everything I touch. It does, right? And this is why, part of the reason it was bugging me about Alonso coming back. Not that he isn't a great driver, but I think the period of time he's been away and his legacy's been kind of tainted by the effect that we can now see that he had on McLaren, which arguably held them back. And when there's so much promising F2 talent, it just seems a shame, because it's not even like the good old days, right? You know, when we had 24 cars, or even further back where we had pre-qualifying and like 32 cars. There were seats there for young people to get the mileage under their belts, but a few FP1 sessions, I mean, it's going to take a while to break through at that rate. Yeah, it does. I mean, also it's a very weird year, right? So there's always going to be an element of doubt over whoever wins any of the championships, because they had to be less consistent. And consistency that's the defining quality for me of a driver. It's not just about raw pace. You've got to have the racecraft to not throw it away, which is something Max Verstappen was lacking at the start of his career, but seems to have finally learned. You know, a bit of patience. It doesn't matter if he's the fastest guy on the track, he has to finish and not get impatient. And then consistency as well. And the best mark of consistency is to not just outdrive the car across one race, but at the end of the season have across the length of that season proving yourself capable of delivering. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Kimi will step down. I can't shake the feeling that they will fast-track Mick Schumacher to partner Antonio Giovinazzi, although I would actually say that there are more promising young drivers out there. And, you know, Grosjean's kind of killed his own career. He did move to Haas because at the time there was this sort of nod and a wink agreement that it would be a gateway into Ferrari potentially, but that didn't pan out, partly because of him and partly because of Haas itself. I'm of the belief that we might get a bit more of Magnussen, although I don't know where he'll end up, because what started out as a good relationship between him and Haas seems to be souring a little bit, and he's already said that if Haas do go for pay drivers, or a pay driver, that he's less inclined to stay. Grosjean's already been making overtures towards Renault, saying he'd like to drive there, but the door's closed on that now. And it always makes me wonder if they know something that we don't, like Haas is definitely pulling out in 2022, and they're both now jostling for position to try and get in somewhere else. What I will say though is if that Haas do leave, and I think they probably will, I just hope the team gets sold as a going concern and we don't drop to an 18 car grid. I would absolutely hate that. Well, according to Will Buxton, he spoke to Gunter Steiner yesterday, and he said they'd never say never on Sebastian Vettel, and then there's still the persistent rumour that he might go to Aston Martin, but I really can't see how that would happen because of the reality that Checo has a really long contract there, and Lance Stroll is the son of the owner, and the owner bought the team for his son. There is the other rumour that Lawrence Stroll is going to buy some shares in Williams again and make Williams like a C team. So you've got Mercedes as the A team, Racing Point, Badger Eyebrows for Stroll, Aston Martin as the B team, and then Williams as like a C team, and that he would demote his own son to Williams. But I mean, that's brutal. Like, that's going to be an awkward Christmas, right? You're not going to be friends. What's the word, guys? Is there any... he is a businessman in the end, but he has shown he's willing to go above and beyond for his son.
What was the secret of your qualifying pace?
I have no idea. I wasn't even paying attention. I was having a good old time in chat.
Do you have any comments about this team?
That's a question that really should only come up in driver career mode, because that's supposed to make it easier for you to move there. Do you know, I actually think Vettel at Aston Martin would be a fairly good match, but I sort of don't see it happening. And I don't know what you guys think, but he doesn't seem as hungry as he once did. He seems kind of resigned to walking away from F1 and spending more time at home. Which, you know, is fair enough. Like I was saying on stream yesterday, I have massive respect for Nico Rosberg for realising that the championship was destroying his life and just deciding to walk away and spend time with his family. It's like, good man, you know, you're already a world champion, you've got nothing left to prove. And to be honest, I think we're in a position now where we can sustain a greater turnover of drivers. You get the anomalies like Alonso and Raikkonen who just sort of go on forever. We'll more and more see drivers retire. Max Verstappen did. I do wonder if they don't end up leaving earlier as well, because I guess you like reach a point where you've done what you want to do, or you just become frustrated and you need a change.
Alright, I think we can call that a successful qualifying.
I think we can call that successful qualifying. Cashback. Bit of Alan Partridge there for you. We've got a rainy start to the race and I'm very good in the rain. This is fantastic news. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way. I don't want to call into question his talent or his class necessarily, because what you find is that certain formula changes affect different drivers differently, which, you know, kind of makes sense. It's why I always felt bad for Stoffel Van Dorn, right? Because his junior formulae were primarily focused at pushing drivers up to a Formula One that by the time he got there didn't exist anymore. And, you know, there were other young drivers affected by that. It's clear that since 2014 Vettel's struggled because the new formulae that came in then just didn't seem to suit him. And partly that was Renault getting the engine wrong, for sure, but he was beaten pretty comprehensively by Danny Rick in their first year together. And now Charles Leclerc has been wiping the floor with him, and I think this would have happened sooner, except that there's something about being at Ferrari that puts Kimi Raikkonen into a coma. I love Kimi Raikkonen, but I felt he should have retired after he won at the US Grand Prix. He should have announced his retirement then, go out on a high. Because I don't know how you guys felt about this, but that year and the 2 years before, whenever I saw someone get by Kimi Raikkonen, I had no faith at all that he'd come back at them and try and get the position back. Just none. And of course, it doesn't help also that Ferrari decided to use him as a ritual human sacrifice at every Grand Prix. So it'd be like, no, it's fine. Stay out on SOS for 60 laps. We'll pick you at the end. It'll be fine. And I guess it's hard to drive your best when you know you're going to be treated that way. But I do feel bad for him. Right then, my dear friends, it is 2:15. We are starting qualifying at 3, apparently. We can run the race now. I think there's enough time, or we can break and come back later. What do you reckon? Do you think qualifying is going to run? Is there any news? Because my phone's giving me nothing. All right then. And we've got mid-session saves, so if suddenly chat clears out and you're all telling me quali's on, then I can always save my game mid-session and go and watch it. Presuming F1 TV Pro works this time. It's such a fucking farce, that thing. I was so grateful when they released it, because then I could watch decent coverage, apparently. But it never works. It never works for a live race. Well, to be honest, I'd watch that. I did see some pictures in Autosport of guys out there with like squeegee mops, but they weren't on the track, they were on the roof of buildings, so I was like, well, that's not fucking helping, is it? But actually, that final series of corners, I think, is the lowest part of the track, so I'm guessing water will just pool there. It'll be hard to clear.
Keep that record going today. 17 corners then at the Autodromo Hermanos, 10 to the right and 7 to the left, and all of them will have to be tackled in difficult. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up.
That's a badass flag, right? An eagle sat on a cactus, not giving a flying fuck about the fact it's on a cactus, just casually eating a snake. That's a flag that says, "Don't fuck with me."
Williams, Max Verstappen and Perez, Sainz, Ricciardo.
Oh. Okay, place your bets now. How many times am I going to crash into turn 1, making overtakes that really I shouldn't be attempting? Thanks, Wodge. I will try not to disappoint you and let you down. I'm hoping that the pace from qualifying translates over race distance. Noted. Oh, we're on the Inters, which is a bit easier than full wet. Hey Katie Knight, how are you, my friend? I hope you're well. I enjoyed your stream last night. Well, I don't know what reality we're in, but it's not the real one. Because under no conceivable mix of realistic conditions should that have ever happened. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What are you doing? I am flashbacking, but it's because of his fault. He dive-bombed me. Oh wow, how did it go? I'm actually really curious, because that's why I'm rushing to finish my first season. Because I think the driver market, in our case, will shake up quite a bit, because there's also a regulation change, which, in theory at least, should shake up the running. Because Jordan King was our first driver, and he gained loads of stats in the first half of the season, and then we fired him for a laugh, and hired Mick Schumacher on the basis that the game would make him OP because of his name. And I thought Williams would pick him up to replace Latifi because he was better at half the price, but they didn't. So I'm hoping it happens between seasons. What we've learned this season is I don't know where the breaking points are, even when they're highlighted for me with a visual graphic. And I'm really good in the wet again, which I was in the games prior to F1 2019. We've been bumping the difficulty up throughout the season, and I thought we'd found a really good level because I was coming home like P17, P16, and then we got to the United States Grand Prix, and I qualified P5 and then started at the back with an engine penalty and made it from P22 to P10, and now this is happening. And also, it's even more interesting.
Safety car.
Oh, you bastards.
Reduce your pace. Keep your delta number positive as we form up. Okay, slow down, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
Out of respect for all of you, I am this time not going to verbalise how much I hate the virtual safety car, because we all know. Hey there, Fruit. I hope you're well. Thank you so much for joining. It's raining here as well as in Austria. This is so stupid because I have to drive to this delta until the start-finish line, and then I can drive as fast as I want. It really doesn't care until I catch the safety car. It's mad. It is indeed Mexico. I'm feeling depressed now that we're not going to get qualifying. Well, that's an interesting question, Wodge, but all that happens is, because the game insists on the whole field forming up behind the safety car before the safety car comes in, if I drive so slowly that I don't catch the safety car, then we just finish the whole race under safety car. Which actually would have been a winning strategy. I mean, it'd be boring as all hell for you guys to watch, but I could have just crept round and taken the victory. And then it really would be like that meme of the guy in third place shaking the champagne and flipping everyone off. I'd say yes. It's, I would say, the best game of the series. I've owned them all since 2010. I always get them launch day. I got the Schumacher version this year, so I've been playing this for a week now, and I've never put as many hours into a version of this game in the first week as I have with this. It's not perfect by any means. There are some pretty iffy bugs. I've escaped the worst of them, because if you check, Reddit and the Codemasters forums, people get like headless drivers or qualifying not affecting the grid at all. But all in all, it's been a lot more engaging, and the best bit for me is I think they found the perfect sweet spot for the AI drivers. Because after 2017, they got really good at making the AI drivers a bit more aggressive. Because before then, what used to happen was, if you looked at all like you were going to turn onto the racing line in front of a driver who was racing you, they would actually hit the brakes and they'd lose like 6-7 tenths to you in one corner. So it was really easy to scam the game and just dive bomb cars and force them behind you. After 2017, the cars would actually race you. Oh, good point. Yeah, my tyres will be icy cold. It's a bit harder as well to warm them up in the wet. There's a little voice in my head now, just going, don't Grosjean it. Do not do a Grosjean. If I do though, I absolutely promise to blame a Swedish person who's not here. To be honest with you, I've never really had problems with tyres in the last few versions of the game. What I have struggled with is particularly gearbox wear. because when I'm playing on manual, I'm not the best at timing my shifts.
Okay, the safety car is coming in this lap. We'll be pacing the field in Sector 3. Make sure to respect the Delta until the safety car is in the pit lane.
Warm up, damn you. Oh, sorry. I enjoyed that way more than I should have done. That was Ericsson's fault as well.
Okay, clear.
No, get back, Satan. Big accident. Oh, there is no way we should be winning this race. As soon as the rain stops, and it's going to stop, we will be eaten alive by the cars behind. I'm just hoping that I can use the stint on the Inters to build up enough of a gap that we can scrape through.
Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
Oh, do not toy with me. What now? Keep current.
Copy.
Why would I choose to not stop when we know for a fact the weather is changing? Do you know, actually, I haven't Canaanite, and I actually really like Formula E, but I've been so obsessed with what Formula One's doing around coronavirus and now with the weather, apparently. Because, you know, the podcast that I do is on Formula One, and Formula One's my first love, that I've completely forgotten about it because I'm just absorbing F1 news every day.
Great work.
It's a Berlin-based championship. And Daniel Abt will get to race in it after all because Neo handed him a lifeline. Actually, I'm curious what chat think about that. Him being fired over an esports event. Because to me, it just screamed they'd been looking for an excuse and he just gave them one. He took part in an esports event, but he only pretended, and he had a professional sim racer driving on his behalf. And he got caught and apologised, but said there was a reason for him doing it, but, you know, everyone who gets caught would say an excuse like that. But then Audi legit fired him. And it does seem very silly, doesn't it?
Burn some of this energy.
But I guess they've just been looking for a way out, because he's very much the Lance Stroll of Formula E, right? That, not saying he's a bad driver. I saw him win in Berlin, and he had a stellar drive. But his family name is in the team name, so I'm guessing his family is a major shareholder, and that means he was probably irreplaceable. And now they can, because Audi puts the most money in, they can now throw their weight around and say, well, we would have kept him, but he's brought, you know, shame on himself, he's disrespected the sport, and he's brought our brand into disrepute, so we're getting rid of him. But it just seems the flimsiest of reasons. And then Neo have hired him because one of their drivers is not allowed to enter Europe for quarantine reasons. Do you know, they have announced it, but it's gone from my mind. It's gone from my mind. I think it's because I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about at the same time as being in an untenable position on the track. They are, but they've also made me a lot of money. I bought shares in Neo, the car company, and they've exploded. And so I have to like them. Because I bought shares at like $2 a share or something, and they're trading at 14 now. So, yeah, God bless them. Yeah, I mean, you saw the same thing, right, with the events Lando Norris was in, but I have to say that I'm on the fence about the whole real F1 drivers, in particular in esports, because often they have to drive with damage off because the races are so chaotic, and I know it's a different skill set, and generally people who just drive in video games are going to know the idiosyncrasies of doing that, and they're probably going to outperform real F1 drivers who have got bigger fish to fry. But I just don't think the quality of the racing made any of them look good. And then it totally seems to have polarised the F1 community, because there's a large number of people who really enjoyed it, and at least it gets you, I guess, closer somewhat to the drivers. You get to interact with them a bit more, you get to see what they're like as people, perhaps more than you would otherwise. But ultimately they're professional drivers, and when every thumbnail is like an 8-car pile-up, then it makes you a bit reluctant to continue taking it seriously. Yes, I think I get what you're getting at there, and I agree. And I think also F1 esports has kind of written themselves into a corner a little bit by being tied to using the Codemaster sims. And to be honest, like, I love the Codemasters games a lot, but they are mass market designed, right? They're designed to cater to both the more casual gamer and the people who want authenticity rather than realism, I think. So there's a simmy quality to it if you want it, but it's never going to compare to, like, you know, the true simulations. I don't drive the true simulations because I am inept, but I recognise that it's a different and arguably more impressive skill set to drive something like R Factor 2 or Assetto Corsa well than it is this. But Codemasters have definitely hit the right spot as far as I'm concerned for an official licensed game. It just means that F1 Esports is forced to use it, and I think it probably draw in more people if they were driving a real sim. The problem is, which one do they choose as well, because everyone's got its own fans and proponents, right? I wonder if anyone else is actually coming in to stop, or if I'm just about to give up a position for no reason. I'm going to stay out at least one more lap. Fuck you, Jeff, you're not the boss of me.
Good job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far.
My pace in the wet is ridiculous. This is also the most temperamental car in any of these games. Because how the same car with no different upgrades can go from struggling to get P18 to then winning a wet race potentially is nuts. That's one other criticism of the game I would have, actually. It's been very difficult to find the correct difficulty setting, and every time I think I've nailed it, I have to up it again. And it seems that patches and driver performance updates change it as well. Oh, definitely Aspire, definitely. And I tell you what, it's a really good foundation. What I'd like to see patched in before they go any further is a bit more freedom in the liveries, because you can't resize or rotate the sponsor logos, and I think it restricts what you can do to make a good looking car. There's also some liveries where it's hard to pick a sponsor colour because it has to show up against a light and a dark background. Is that too little too late, the rain stopping now? Oh, I'm hoping we get a queue. Is Verstappen coming in? No, he's staying out. I really hope we don't come to regret this.
Go,
because we know the end of the Grand Prix is going to be dry. 26 minutes.
After these tyres now, we want to finish the race on this compound. Mick is in the pits. Mick
See,
in the
in
pits.
theory, there's no reason why Perez and Verstappen can't stay out until the changeover for softs. Because it's already stopped raining. We're just waiting a few laps now for it to dry. I should have stayed out. I should have trusted my gut. That's what my gut instinct was telling me. And Jeff, again, no help at all. But better than the stream I was watching this morning, where he only mentioned it's time to come off the inters after the guy had passed the pits. And I think it's actually already time for dries. What are my tyre
It's not a perfect
temperatures?
situation, but I don't think we have cause to move on to a different tyre yet.
I think you might be wrong, Jeff. I think partway around the next lap. Now I have to pay attention to my tyre temps. I'm losing time as well because I'm trying to do that. Yeah, that's some good advice. I hate that I might end up having to pit really close together and surrendering a win needlessly.
Keep managing your tyres.
I've run low on money, but you're right. It tends to fix itself organically very, very quickly. So the risk, I think you have to be playing deliberately badly to go outright bankrupt. Because the base money you get from your sponsors is probably a little too much. If you're not meeting your sponsor goals, you can get a bit tight for cash and it slows development, but I don't think you're at risk of bankruptcy unless you do something really stupid. And although I am known to do very stupid things occasionally, I haven't yet been that stupid. Yeah, look at the tyre temp on the front left there. Tyre update.
I don't think the line is really dry enough yet to start thinking about slicks. Let's hold on to the inters for a while longer.
10 seconds time, Perez and Verstappen come in, put on soft tyres. Everyone behind me comes in, puts on soft tyres, finish last.
Our gap behind is 8.6 seconds.
Oh, thank you for keeping an eye on that for me. On PC, for sure, because people have always found ways to mod it even when it's not officially supported. On 2015 or 2016, I actually had an F1 1997 mod that was quite well put together, but it did make the game unstable. So there were some tracks that would just cause a hard crash. And obviously, because it's a free mod, the people who make it are not really incentivized to fix bugs for everybody. But yeah, you can definitely find mods for them. I don't know how quickly they'll be there for this one, but I'd certainly hope that the management game, when it comes out, is moddable, because that sort of game lives or dies on that, and more so than a driving game. I think that could be gaming as a service platform done quite well. You know, they could just provide update packs each year for people who want them, because really, yeah, you know, that would be a fantastic game, that, wouldn't it? The only game to really attempt it was F1 Challenge, if you remember that, where you could drive every season from, I think, 99 to 2003, was it? And I did enjoy that, but Verstappen stayed out again, right? We're closing up on him, but I think we've handed him the race win. I should have stayed out. I really should have stayed out. Because there was no reason the tyres wouldn't last until now. They were like 30% worn, so... Do you know, it's a little unusual seeing chat have belief in me. I'm feeling the pressure now. If you guys have faith in me, then it must genuinely be possible. I'm excited for the new look to the stream. My capture card should come this week. I got an update. So I can finally use some proper graphics and get away from this stock PlayStation, what have you. Right. Perez, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but is there any possibility we can get by each other without one or more of us dying? That's the question here.
Fuel target is +1. Faster engine modes are available.
Ooh, ooh. I was a little bit naughty there, but we didn't hit each other, so...
A new strategy is available on the MFD.
Confirm change.
Confirmed.
Thank God he told me that now and not after I drove through. It must be. And the good news is we should now catch Verstappen because he stayed out. As long as we can keep Perez behind us, which will be difficult because he is faster.
Go, go, go.
And that was the fastest pit stop this team has ever done.
Up to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres.
Wow, Leclerc stayed out as well. Oh, so Ferrari don't double box, isn't it? What happened to Perez? He sort of disappeared. Oh yeah, these tyres immediately feel better.
Nick is coming in for his stop.
We may actually win a race here, guys. This is perverse. It's obscene. Bargain, mate. Bargain of the century. I got so many hours out of that game. He has to stop. He's on the inters. Like, look how quickly I've caught Leclerc. I knew he was going to do that. Ricciardo got a podium in the last race here, actually. In the US, he got P2. And Carlos Sainz has had a podium as well, but no major surprises, sadly. But we haven't had many that are changeable. Why is Verstappen staying out? That's bad AI. Well, we know my setup's wrong because I was on the limiter for way too long. Oh, he did pit, yeah. Oh wow, he must have had a big gap. We have extra fuel though, so I'm going to turn the engine up. I don't know if this is necessarily true. I'm going to say it anyway, but it feels like there's some kind of... You know, in the Vermintide games or Left 4 Dead, there's an AI director that sort of dynamically changes things to make stuff happen. The way this car handles so differently depending on different things beyond weather and tyre wear, I do kind of wonder if... Because like the car now feels fantastic. Really, really good. But it shouldn't. And I don't know if it's just like the track evolution or what, but... he's pulling away from me now, isn't he? And now Lewis has gone fastest, yeah. Until Lewis came round. You know, even if I don't win though, this has been probably my best race of the season. Only had to use one flashback, right, because of being dive bombed by that twat. And my overtakes have been clean. The pace has been excellent. the strategy has worked, although probably was suboptimal. I would have won this race by double-digit seconds if I had listened to my instinct and stayed out really long on my first set of inters. That's a truly scary prospect.
This is your final lap. Final lap of the race.
Maybe you're my good luck charm, mate. Have I just gone fast? What is going on? We're in the twilight zone now, people. That's not enough, though, is it, to win? Bugger. I really thought, I dared to dream we had this one in the bag.
Engine mode much longer. We're about a lap over target. Drop down to mix too soon.
I'm trying. I love this effect on the last lap. I can't honestly answer that question. I can't tell if I love or hate Vietnam.
Good job, mate. That's a fantastic podium. Super driving, really strong pace. Very happy.
It's going to be a crap watch, I can tell you that. I think in the real world, it's not great for overtaking, and
It's victory in Mexico then, and what a victory.
Zandvoort, I don't think suits Formula One.
And talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
It was a question of right place, right time.
It's a fun track to drive on a single lap, and in the game it works, but I do wonder, because of the way it undulates, I'm not sure it's going to produce good F1 racing. Oh, I'm buzzing now, guys. That was incredible. That was really mad. That's such a crazy result. Best one we've ever had. I mean, I enjoy Mexico because it's a track with a flow that I like, but I didn't expect a result like that. Kaboom.
They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the
That bastard only won because he stole my pit strategy.
Congratulations to everyone at the team.
I think it's a cool setting, and I'm glad to see another Grand Prix in that part of the world. It's just, it seems like a track that is like a good idea over a few glasses of beer in the pub, but then when you actually build it and have to run the cars on it, suddenly you're like, maybe we got it wrong. Because, you know, it's supposed to take inspiration from other good tracks and stuff. Yeah, and I love Sepang. I really miss Sepang.
Now let's take a look at the driver's standings. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Some amazing talents out on the track
Well,
today. Anthony, who
my
would you
friends,
pick
that
as your
was
driver of the day?
sensational. And thank you to everyone who was keeping an eye on the things I couldn't for me, like Max's pit stops and so on.
It's another clear win for Mercedes as they managed to
That was
secure
actually
the
genuinely helpful.
title. An
I'm buzzing. I
incredible
love that race. That was great.
I know that's at odds with the official decision, but I think they deserve some recognition on a day where both of these drivers are at the top of their
Oh, and he had a good race as well.
With that, we wrap up another
Yeah,
weekend of
P13 for
motorsport.
Mick
With more
Schumacher.
races lined up, be sure to join us when we
Sadly, a
come back
DNF for
with
Giovinazzi
more
and
Formula
Norris. Who else did well? Carlos Sainz, P5. Perez on the podium. That's important, actually, because it's Racing Point that we're fighting in the championship. Let's check how this affects the championship standings. So we have closed up on Danny Rick to within 2 points, but I'm not confident we can really take the fight to him. And we remain in P6, but we closed the gap a little bit to Renault. As a first season, this has been absolutely stellar. 2 Grand Prix to go. We will be finishing the season today, I suspect. We will.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy.
Thanks, K&I. Appreciate it.
You must be thrilled to be up on the podium.
You know it, Sugar Tits. Fired.
You're beating all expectations. Would you say we all underestimated you?
I'm just going to keep bigging up the team because I want the acclaim so I can get the good sponsors.
But it looks like you're coming up top, doesn't it?
Yes, and nobody is more surprised about that than me.
Would you feel comfortable in the wet weather today?
Sorry guys, I've been talking for too many hours. I think after we've done some post-race stuff, I'm going to call it for this stream, and I'll probably wrap it up later today so we can see how the season ends. Sorry, I'm dying now. This is my Rosenborg my Rosenborg shirt. I have some family in Trondheim and it's the local team. Sorry, I've talked myself hoarse, but I have done a lot of streaming this week. That's a healthy boost to the budget, isn't it? Yeah, thanks Sapphire. It was awesome that you could come and join us and hang out for a bit of a chat. I really appreciate it. In fact, thank you to everyone who's hopped on chat. I am pathetically grateful, and I hope I've done enough to convince you to maybe come check into another stream in future. We're going to go for a more professional look and yeah, hopefully go from strength to strength. I'm going to renew sponsors because all the goals are fine. In terms of activities, podium celebration party, that's definitely on the list. I definitely want to spend some more time boosting the stats of Mick Schumacher. And then we've got vehicle PR filming. And then a sponsor event. Why don't we set it up like that? Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it. My plan would be to be back around the time qualifying would normally finish, but my situation has changed. I will keep you posted. I'm on Instagram at Definitely Zero and at FailcastF1, and also on Twitter, FailcastF10. And again, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon, I hope. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.